Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Bridge by Three. I am Kayla,
I'm Candice.
and Kanisha cannot join us today, but we are joined by a lovely guest, Lorie.
Hi,
Thank you
hello,
for
hello.
coming.
Yes.
I'm so excited about today's topic, and it is very important that we're having this conversation because we're going to be talking about misogyny today, and specifically misogynoir, which is the intersection between gender, sexuality, and racism. And Lori, I just want to ask you, since this topic you brought to me based off of your class, which I just loved how we started talking about this naturally, and I was like, you need to come on the podcast because I just know that, the information that you were taking from the class, I wanted to know and definitely wanted to have this conversation with you. So I was just like, immediately, please, let's do it. So why don't you give us just the plain definition or anything that you've learned, and we can go from there.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So, in my time this semester, I was studying in a class called Misogynoir in Digital Spaces. So, I was specifically looking into how misogynoir is seen online and like in contemporary media. However, let me get into a little bit about what it is. So, misogynoir is a coin termed in 2008 by Professor Moya Bailey. This is back when Nelly was a super big thing. He was going out doing a bunch of music videos.
It's getting hot in here, Nelly. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Getting hot in here. Okay, that one. Yes.
Yes, that Nelly. And back then in that hip hop era, there was a lot of things going on with women in these music videos, like a lot of objectification, a lot of
shaking butts
sexualization.
in bikinis and stuff.
Exactly
But
that.
at least they were natural butts back then.
Yes, that's the one thing. However, you could tell that other women weren't taking too kindly to this because this is setting up a standard for how the rest of society should be, especially in the Black community.
It was the beginning of the end. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was.
And that's
In a
why
sense.
a lot of us weren't happy with it. So one day, Nelly decided to do a little speech at Spelman College, and you could tell, based off of what I just said, I don't think people took kindly to that. So, in a space full of powerful Black women, Nelly, who has recently objectified women in all of his own work, wanted to come over, wanted to speak to these same Black women. So they had a big pushback against that. People protested. People gave letters to the school saying, hey, let's not have this guy here. We don't like what he does. They gave specific reasons. And Dr. Moya Bailey came up with this whole letter explaining why they don't want him speaking at the college, what he did. And that's when she named Misogynoir in that letter. And ever since then, there has been books written about it. Other people have picked up on that term and looked more into it. But the most important thing is that it's been living before 2008. It's been a thing. However, most recently, we've recognized it as misogynoir.
This is, and you say it's been a thing, like, it's rooted so deeply. And when we had this conversation a little bit, you talked about we don't know that we were kings and queens. Us Black people, let's talk about Black people for a second. We don't know that we were royalty. We don't always know our history. Some people do, but it is not taught to us. So to know that, or to only know from slavery, this is rooted in slavery, dehumanization, objectification, rooted. Specifically, and that, of course, affects Black mental health like today. We all know that.
Can we backtrack for the oldies that don't really aren't that familiar with misogynoir? What I hear in that is misogyny, right? So can you explain like the connection between the two?
Oh, yes, of course. So actually, let's go back a little bit into literally what the word is.
Yeah.
It's a combination of misogyny, so that is sexism, like hate specifically against women.
Right.
And then it's combining the word noir, which is the French term or French word for Black. So if you put those two together, misogynoir, specifically the anti-Black and sexist violence against women.
Against black
So
women.
black women specifically, or black femmes, anyone who's black presenting like as a woman, then they can experience this.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's rooted. It comes, or it presents itself obviously in slavery during the slave trade, and I think that now, as we see it in modern day, which is important to have this generational conversation, is because we're seeing it so violently, I feel like, on social media and in media. And when we talk about general media conversations, we could talk about Simone Biles and Megan Thee
Serena
Stallion,
Williams.
Serena Williams. There are Kamala Harris. Like, how we treat black women in positions of power. And granted, let's think about how, these black women are trying to get to this power.
But that's
right?
so
We have-
interesting. Can I stop you? Like the list of black women that you just named were very sporadic. You listed Meg Thee Stallion in the same space as Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
if-
that's what
if-
it's different levels to power. Like someone like Megan Thee Stallion, right? She used her sexuality to gain that power. So in her example, it is very nuanced, and that conversation is it. But it is a part of misogynoir. What happened to her, victim blaming,
Yep.
is a part of misogynoir. Not having people's stories just be fully heard. People
So
are
what part do the women play in misogynoir? Because when I hear of a person, when you list a Meg Thee Stallion, I'm looking at Meg Thee Stallion like a woman that was in one of the Nelly videos.
Right.
As if she were a dancer, as far as the degradation or the, woman not respecting themselves fully by using their bodies to exploit and to gain profit off of. So it's like when I hear of that kind of term, it's not looking to me like, it's like, I just feel like women may play a part in this as well. In addition, when I first heard the term misogynoir, instantly thought about misogyny and also thought that where's this word coming from and where's this label and this divisiveness coming from, right? Because you were posing it in a way that was putting black men and women against each other. Can we get there? Can we get to like that part of it so that we can speak on that
because
more?
black men's mental health has been a huge topic of conversation online, which I feel like is very good, right? But we also have the manosphere online. We have these red pill, blue pill guys. We have Andrew Tate and all of his little followers that are really pushing patriarchy in a more violent manner that we're seeing online, and how that can ripple effect into our lives and into our psyches. Actually, if you've seen Adolescence, that is a perfect media example of how damaging this could be. And so when we talk about the divisiveness, right, when it comes to black men, there's rhetoric around black men not wanting to be with black women because we're so angry or aggressive, and this is to challenge these stereotypes. Every situation, of course, has its nuance and has its differences, and women do play a part because it's about your character at the end of the day, and it's about respect at the end of the day. And I feel like in media, the distinction is important because the blackening, right? One of your go-to movies, right?
Love that.
I wanted to bring up the scene where she's bashing the killer's heads in, and she's like, "Why the black woman gotta do everything?" Da 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 da. You just go watch that scene, okay, and understand that the anger, and then the guy in the back is like, "This is why I married a white woman."
he did say
that was
that.
so real, okay, and they were touching on this separation of, yes, the patriarchy affects us all as women, and racism affects us all fundamentally as people and as black people. But misogynoir is, I feel like, it's a label, but it's an important distinction to make as we are in this space of maybe giving everyone their power, their voice, because Black women are we're taken advantage of. And we are not taught to stick up for ourselves. And when we do stick up for ourselves, it's these stereotypes. It's these, like, you can be considered, you as a person can be considered aggressive in your workplace, as a friend, when you're just honest and forthright and won't be disrespected. And that's not a fault for you. You're a human, you know? But you are then led in the society to, you could feel lesser than, but you have to choose not to feel lesser than and feel in your power. So that's why I feel like the distinction could be important, but it is messy. Like, it is very dividing. And I would like to know, like, because we were talking about, you know, America and in Black history, that we had the nuclear family introduced to us, and we led the nuclear family in a very like us way. Like, we were joyful. And can you talk a little bit about
I'm sorry. I feel like I still at this point need more clarity on misogynoir and like what are we saying about Black women in misogynoir?
Okay.
What are we saying?
I could comment on that actually. So based off of what you were saying earlier, Kayla, when you're going into like the fact that it's just a term, but it's like an umbrella term for like all the hate that we've experienced, I think it's important to also note that misogynoir is also about the violence against Black women.
Okay.
So specifically when you see people targeting Black women just because they're Black and they're a woman, like we even see that just with regular misogyny, like women getting beaten up on the streets. Like, we're from New York. I hope you guys have seen the stories of people getting like punched randomly on the street because they're a woman. Like, literally because of nothing else. They're just a woman. They get punched and it's like, oh, okay, nothing to do here. They never get in trouble. They just run away. That's it. But there's a lot more specific cases with Black women, just with those identities coming together, that make it way more violent. And it doesn't even have to be physical. It's also mental violence, like people getting death threats, people getting like all of this constant hate online, constant disrespect, not being seen, and that could do a lot to your like mental psyche. Like, people just think differently, like with what you were saying earlier, like just thinking that you're way lesser than, even though us as Black women are telling ourselves and other people like, hey, we are the weapons, like how we were talking about earlier. Like, we have the power, but a lot of people in society can make us feel like we aren't like that. And that's really what misogynoir is. Like, we're fighting against all of these ideas from other people, all this violence from other people that just make us into something that we're not.
and we
So
want
I guess for me, I'm very disconnected to that term and topic because I don't consider myself a victim. I don't, I feel like that term is a label saying that as a Black woman, I'm experiencing such negative things from situations, whether it's work or whether it's in the home or whether it's my everyday life, and I don't feel like that. I don't relate to that. I don't. That's why I'm trying to find like the understanding and the I agree with that, but I'm not finding it. So I'm just
because as a topic, right? This is a way of it's an understanding of moving through life, right? And I feel like the disconnect is important as a person to have, because, and that's the power that we're talking about, the power that you have, because I think of a person with a victim mentality can really go through this life and have this understanding about life and let it impede on them and let it stop them from fully expressing themselves, sticking up for themselves, which then affects their mental health in the long run. Even physical violence. This has affected families, because not only, okay, are you violent to a Black woman, but then there's no media coverage for this Black woman
like,
that was
what's the
violently
term for the
harmed.
Black man who's
Yeah.
It's just
You know what I'm
racism.
saying?
Like,
It's, so
okay, but that's different though because men. Okay, society. I'm not even agreeing with this, but
okay,
at least in the society's lens, men are always above women because this
okay.
is a patriarchy. We're like literally living in the system that has built them above us. So there's no term for men, sadly. Like, I don't know,
Unfortunately.
right? Like,
Sorry, guys.
Right.
You guys have the manosphere.
right.
We
You
have
guys literally
misogynoir.
everything. Like, but I would also like to go back to one of your points earlier about you not connecting with misogynoir because that may be true, but I feel like you probably have at least had one experience where like you have seen misogynoir to yourself, but like you might not have like pinned it down as misogynoir. That's also why I'm here to talk about it because I feel like the way we identify it can give us the power to like act against it or maybe like act above it. Like,
So
I think
and
you're
what,
doing that
what kind of
regardless.
example would you give? Because I also wouldn't, whatever you're about to say,
Yeah.
probably wouldn't label it misogynoir. It would be flat out racism or
Right.
disrespect or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to add that extra, it's me, I'm a black woman, and sectionalize myself. Like, I just feel like that term, the fact that it's a term in itself, it brings me back to the whole thing where why do we need a fucking label for everything? Why are we renaming shit that already has a name for a particular group of people as if when they experience it is way more damaging than when another group of people may experience the same thing? It's like at the end of the day, we're all experiencing the same types of things in life. So why is it that we're gonna dissect and put the people experiencing the same parts of life in different categories and like, oh no, yours is worse than that group because you're a black woman? And I mean, I would rather like, can we talk about the totem pole because that's a better way for, I think, myself and whoever to understand what exactly are we talking about here? Like, in what way are black women experiencing misogynoir? Is that way different than what a black man would experience? And why are we separating the struggle for male and woman? I don't know.
Because I think that the separation comes from us being the face of things also. Besides putting in the back end work, we also there are all of those years of media of rappers that have of black men that have built their careers off of the objectification of black women and their bodies and like
Yes, and I agree with that, and I agree, but that Nelly, like you said, it's getting hot in here. That time, yeah, everybody was shaking asses, and for me, I was living and watching TV and in and at a time where I saw like the beginnings of I saw the beginnings of these things. I saw the beginnings of these different groups of Bad Boy, the beginnings of So Def, the beginnings of, all these different groups of people. And I saw when the music videos started changing, right? It's like we went from Queen Latifah, UNITY, we went from, Tribe Called Quest and Self-Destruction and KRS-One. We went from those type of videos and songs and then gradually ended up going into the Nelly era, and then what happened in the videos now started changing, and then the women started wearing less clothing, and then, yes, they were becoming sexualized and objectified. However, these women who decided and made the choice because I'm not saying nobody's ever been forced to do anything, but I'm saying I don't think everybody was, right? And I think that they made a conscious decision that they wanted to in turn make money in this way, and that they became okay with objectifying themselves in these music videos in whatever way to make the money. And yeah, by default, what happened? The men who were making the videos, who were rapping in the videos, they got clout off of the females. Okay, cool. They were video vixens back in the day. That was a whole fucking thing.
It's coming back.
Right,
It's coming back.
Because videos went flop for a while. I don't know what's happening in videos,
Pendulum
but
is
maybe it is
swinging.
coming back. But at that time, there were video vixens. That was a whole big thing, and that's how they made their careers, and that's how they made their money. But at the end of the day, that was decision. And when you mention somebody like Meg Thee Stallion, the way she, Glorilla, Nick, Cardi, whoever, the way, and it's not like we didn't have that too. We had Little Kim, super sexual. We had Foxy Brown, super sexual. But we also had variety. and we didn't only have that. So we had like the whole of hip hop and R&B reflected who we were as whole humans and whole people, because we weren't just one thing. We could get that UNITY message. We could get that shake your ass at whatever. We could be all of who we are, because as humans, we are all these different things. We're not stoic. We're not like one dimensional. We live our lives. We have fun. There's a time for play. There's a time to be serious. So all of that is cool. But these women made conscious decisions and were okay with the decisions they made. And what I'm saying is women need to hold a lot more accountability for why we are in the predicament that we are as far as being disrespected and violated, because it's cool if you're going to do that and stand on it, just like strippers do. They got to they choose to make their money in that way that they make their money. And whatever they do with it, or you're using it for school, great for you, or you're using it to buy fucking drugs. Who fucking knows? But at the end of the day, you made that decision and you got to stand in it. So women, I feel, need to take more accountability for some of the degradation that they receive. It's like you don't want to be disrespected, but you're putting yourself out there in a way for you're opening yourself up to the disrespect. And then you want to play victim to it after years of it's like I feel like, not to say that men never, from the beginning of time, men have been taking advantage of women. Yes, that's a given. However, when you now have on top of that women who are voluntarily giving their bodies, showing their bodies or whatever, being who they are, you're kind of opening up the doors for this, and let's not act like you didn't. And I feel like we're in the victim state of, oh, well, how did we get here? Oh, I saw how the fuck we got here. I was watching that shit the whole time, because our principles went out the window. Some of us, and some of us maintain the old school, type of frame of mind. But I just don't relate to the label and the victimization when it comes to that on a whole, because it took years for us to get here. And we didn't just get here. We got here by tolerating, we got here by accepting, and we got here by exploiting ourselves.
Exactly. What makes me so angry about talking about this is that that's so much of a symptom of, okay, what else am I to do but do what has proven to work in order to get money or in order to move on in life. And that's so spiritually aggravating to me. Like, that is so outside, and like you said, it has taken years for it to get to that point. And it's so dangerous to have these, like, because this is not man hating. I hate content that's supposed to be feminist, and then we start talking about anti-men, and we get into like the whole men hate shit, whatever. And and then also when we talk about female rap, then we're just doing the same thing on the other end. I don't respect that either. And it's like, not so much about victimization. I want to really challenge. I want this to be a challenge of misogynoir, because it is very much so that the awareness of this should allow us to then be like, no, I'm not going to do anything to overstep. In my mind, in my values, I'm like, I cannot over-sexualize myself. And this is something that I have to think about.
And it's not about being a nun either.
Right,
it's not about the extremes.
It's true to yourself.
Find a healthy middle ground,
But then I'm thinking about all of these things, and I'm thinking about how people will receive me. And oh my gosh, my whole life up until now, I'm thinking about my breasts and how overtly sexual my body is. And how I should exist in the world. And that has affected my whole fashion sense, probably my sexuality and how that grew. Right. And like, and it's so much mental, it's such a mental effect that it worries me that every single Black woman has experienced this in some way and doesn't have the outlook that I feel like I'm grateful to have and like share and to be able to talk about, because that's so dangerous. And then we have actual violence and people willing or not. I don't even want to bring up the Diddy situation, but like,
oh gosh. Not today.
But like at a certain point, yes, we make choices in this life, but what I've come to realize about living is that the you never know what choices you will have to make, and like the person that you'll have to become in order to live through something. If you if you're that happens, something happens to you, you just have no clue, and that's scary. And as a Black woman, I feel like we have nothing, and now we have a word.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to my outlook on it is like, yes, okay, now we have this definition that was what, like, 10 less than 10 years ago or something, like 15. And it's like, all right, but we should use this to understand that we are powerful. We are here, for a purpose. We talk about purpose in other podcasts, but just to exist as a woman, and that as a woman we are so powerful. But then we get into the extremes, like people want to take it to an extreme, and then we have the opposite, and the red pill, and like
And let's
people.
look at the fact that we talked about earlier with as far as Black women being the most educated woman in the country. Like, let's look at that and then look at like how are we fitting both of these
Keeping it pushing.
categories?
Yeah.
How are we in both of these categories in the way that we are? What is that saying about the Black woman, the Black woman's real experience? And that's why I'm saying, even within Misogynoir, what is it trying to say about the Black woman's experience? What is it saying?
I actually
Is it like, okay, we are. Is it that saying we're at the bottom of the totem pole? Like, I'm just still, I'm trying to be, but I'm still not clear on what's the point. Like, what if I'm talking to somebody about Misogynoir? What's my purpose for talking about it? What am I saying?
I think
What's the point I have?
I think we can go to the fact that like we're at the bottom of the totem pole, but more so like in the lens of society. But I would like to throw another thing on the table, since we've been talking a lot about sexualization. There is more to misogynoir. It's not only from overly sexualizing Black women or like seeing them as objects. There's also the fact that misogynoir can take the form of hypermasculinization of Black women. So like when Black women aren't seen as like too feminine or whatever, like if you could compare a Black woman to like a white woman, let's say, like maybe someone would be like, oh no, the white woman, like she just looks classy, like just with her being like normal, like out of her bed, fine. But like a Black woman has to like do up her hair, like make it straight, or like whatever she got to do, put on a wig, whatever.
So it's perception. Is
Yes,
this about
it's perception?
perception?
It's about stereotyping, and like there's a lack of depth because it's either, and this
I'm
is
like, that's why I'm
Blackness as
not
well.
relating, and I'm trying to find.
No, there's a lack of, but that's society. There's so
it's
much
a
lack
society
of depth
thing. Yeah.
towards us. It's like, it's dehumanization. We
Yes.
can't just be. We have to either, we're something that you adore, and we're something that you want with the box braids, or like something that we want to act like, or it's, you're objectified, you're sexual, or you're angry, or it's just oversimplification of everything. But in real life, and then also, this is society, but it's also what we're seeing and consuming, which is why it could be so dangerous. And I feel like maybe it wasn't identified before because it wasn't, because there was variety and it was like, wasn't just so in your face, and people weren't just so hateful towards each other, towards like this intersection is so crazy to me, because the racism aspect of it is the dehumanization, and the patriarchal aspect of it,
because this is coming from the white man. This is not a tome or a corn.
It's
anything
from Black
that's
men
coming
too.
from. It's coming
from Black women
men.
too. Everybody. It's coming from literally everybody. It's
What,
a
the
big
term,
thing.
or like the use of it?
Misogynoir. Everything is coming from. It's the unique experience that Black women have.
Let's talk about Black friend groups. Okay?
Right.
Let's talk about Black
That has
female
misogynoir in
friend
it too.
groups.
Right.
Okay? Because then we have there's like the competing friend group, competing for the patriarchal, like a guy's attention, right? And then there's just the general bitchiness, like, or just that like characteristic, I hate to even say it, but like stereotype characteristic, like ratchet, like Black girl just fighting each other, like, or even like the normal cliques in high school, right? It can be so, especially when you're that immature, it could be damaging to you as a person, and then we're also like growing up with that mindset. So really it's about how we're relating to each other, how a black woman is relating to other people. My point, if I'm like talking to someone about this topic, specifically a black man, I would think about, or my point would be like, we should be unity. Like we should
Yeah.
be in this together, and like that particular person may be on the same page, but like all black men, there are black men. First of all, there are black men that voted Trump in office. There are black men that like it's just we're just not unified in any aspect of our life right now.
But even women are not unified. So I
No,
just
Not at
feel like,
all.
why are, I don't know. I'm just not relating to this term. I'm not really relating to the origin of the term.
Right.
Because it's too superficial. Because you go through life the mindset that someone needs to not be a victim, I feel like is unknown to anyone in the younger generation, in Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And I feel like we really need to take a minute to like assess how our older counterparts are thinking and existing in the world. Because the victim mentality is so damaging, and it's damaging every intersection of our lives. And as a black woman, I feel like with all of these truths that we hold, like I said earlier, has affected how I dress. I don't even know the depth to which this has affected me, and I will be continuing to learn that throughout my lifetime. But I have to choose to not be a victim in any aspect of my life and take control over my life. And that's refreshing. And it's sad that it's refreshing, but it's refreshing. And I think that's why you're so disconnected to
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm just not used to these labels, these terms, okay, that's a part of life that we experience, and we just do what we do. Because there is the flip side with, like, when we look at the education. So that's why I'm like, obviously we're doing something, we're doing something right and good. So why are we, what good is it to hold on to that term? What good is, what is
That's a
the
good question.
what's happening with the fact? All right, you have this term now. What are you going to do with it? What can be done to make a change? You don't like the term, so how are we going to change it? Is anybody talking about that? Or are we just going to keep talking about the fucking shit, that the stereotypes and the perceptions that people have about black women, whether we agree with it or not? Like, I'm not feeding into that shit. That's not even a fucking topic for me.
And I think
I'm going to be
that's- yeah.
honest with you at the end of the day. I don't even want to grant any life to that term.
I think that was the response from black women as well. I want you to like talk a little bit about your experience online with the soft black girl, because I know everyone's For You page is different, but I know like I was seeing, especially after all this Andrew Tate stuff, slowly but surely self-care, and after COVID,
I don't even know who the hell Andrew Tate is. I don't know. It's like, who are these people? Why are these people relevant? And let's make them not relevant if they shouldn't be.
also the separation of like social media and real life. Like you're living in real life, talking to real people, living your actual day-to-day life, and then you go online and you just see his face like just saying the craziest stuff, and then you're seeing people agree with it, and it's kind of alarming and jarring. So that's just a state of like the craziness of this world right now with technology. So that needs to be acknowledged as well. Like step into real
It
life.
just seems
Yeah.
like nobody has a mind of their own, and that's the
No.
scariest fucking thing out of all of this conversation that we're having, is that
Yeah.
nobody could fucking think for themselves, and that's something I specialize in. So I'm
Period.
missing all this shit. I'm like, what? No clue. No clue. Who don't care about him? Fuck him. Move on. Like, why are these? I just don't understand. It's just, to me, so easy. And like my advice is, like, if we're gonna talk about misogynoir, people need to be discussing how we're gonna change it. Like, what? I don't like to just talk about shit to talk about shit to talk about shit to talk about shit. That's fucking crazy. That's a part of the fucking psychosis that a lot of people are in. I'm like, how are we gonna get out of it? Are we going to talk our way into something else?
Yeah.
Or do different? Either one of the two, or don't fucking talk to me about it. Like, it's that simple to me. Because I'm not going to give life to this fucking term that is feeding into other people's perceptions of me. I care about how I perceive myself.
Yeah. And to
Your
be
inner
honest,
monologue.
I had like part of that mindset that you're going into like with this whole conversation with my class. So like my advisor recommended me to take the class. She was like, "Oh, Lorie, it seems like it'll be your vibe, like your type of thing to learn about." So I was like going in blind. I was like, "Sure." I did not know what the hell misogynoir was,
Yes.
but I learned about it that day when I got into that class.
Fuck around, find out.
Right. And in my head, I'm the same way. I'm like, I need solutions. Like, I'm hearing all these tragic things over and over. Like, oh, this black woman got beaten up. This black woman, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And
So
I'm
we
like,
about to form a group, pump people up. Like, what we gonna do? What we doing?
like, what
we
is the
doing?
solution? And finally, at the end of the class, my professor discussed like this whole thing about how we could fix it. And honestly,
Okay.
there's no clear answer. It's about us getting together and deciding what that solution is. And I think that is important for us to think about. But like, we can't come together. Like, I think it is possible. I'm sorry, I said we can't. But I think it's possible.
It's just hard.
Right. It's hard. It's not happening right now.
Yeah.
But it can happen and it should happen so
Yeah.
we could stop the way other people think about us. Because it's really about us speaking up, which is the stuff that we were going over in the class.
Well, I don't see. I wouldn't still say about other people. Nothing that's done, nothing that you do should ever be about what other people think. It should always, the basis should always start from you, a you place, and a betterment for you, and then the betterment you want to share and branch off to other people. But if you're operating in the sense of I'm gonna do this to appease or to help the perception of other people, you're still missing the point, right?
Yeah.
Because it has to start with you, probably a change in you. Right? The individual, it always starts, any kind of change has to start from self, even if you're doing it in a group, it has to start with the individual, and then whatever grace you grant yourself or whatever practices, then you do that with other people in your group as well, and then you spread that and move on from there. But I just don't, it's the whole caring about the perception part.
Solved.
Let's not do that.
No, but I think that's the solution that we're talking about, and I don't think that it's a thing of like, we do have to come together, and I don't think it's to talk more about this. I just think it's to assess our own power and understand our
because if
own
we
mind.
unite, if there's even when you talk about, like, if we're talking about domestic violence, start a group, form a, you know what I'm saying, like how people form neighborhood watches, form a whatever, like some type of something. All right, what are we gonna do if one of our sisters has a situation? How are we gonna handle it? And then we'll have a set of brothers that's a part of our team that will go and handle the situation. Like, there's things that can be organized. It's like we really act like we can't do shit. That's why I'm not
Community
for the
organizing,
victimization, and I'm not for the just talking to be talking about shit. If we're not going to come up with solutions, all right, how are we going to move past this? Good. Yeah, let's unite and do what the fuck we got to do to protect each other. I'm not worried about nobody's fucking perception of me. I'm worried about what's the real issue that we're experiencing and how are we going to get past this shit. Let the niggas watch us and take fucking lessons and take notes, and they can learn from us moving forward. But the purpose will not ever be, to prove a point or to prove that I am not fucking proving shit.
And I think Black women are living in their individuality and in their versatility a lot more now. Like, I think with the soft Black girl movement, like, the rhetoric has been, be completely yourself and also take a breather.
And step back from being the strong Black woman. You don't got to do all that, basically.
And relax and be true to yourself and learn who you are. And a lot of the soft Black girl is like, oh, wait, I don't even know who I am. A lot of all of the problems we're talking about and that are intersectional, we don't know who we are, and we need to take the time to step back. And I feel like, that movement that's happening now online is a reaction, and it's that, like, Black women being like, I don't even want to acknowledge this. I'm just going to be myself. And also with social media, then that turns into performance. So we're still performing. We're always performing, and it's like,
If
how
it's
do we
done for the
stop
camera, you
performing?
mean? If it's
Yeah.
Well, done for the camera, sure. There's something, you could share your story, like, great. But, what are the self-care acts that you're doing? Is that performative? Is the journal prompt something you got off of Pinterest, or is it something you actually, like, want to learn about yourself? Like, what is the work that we're talking about for you to do the work? And that's a question in and of itself. And I feel like we touch on that in purpose in other videos, because at the end of the day, it's all about just being human. But with this rhetoric, it's like the soft black girl, it could be performative with aesthetics.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. Like now a soft black woman has a coquette bow, which is also just going towards the whiteness. Coquette was an aesthetic that was coined, like, I think during COVID or something like that. It's like basically like Western not Western.
It's like, think of
Cutesy.
like living on like a little cottage with like a little farm next to you, and like dressing a little bit more traditional, a little bit more cutesy, flowy. That's cottagecore,
Yeah.
basically.
But then it's also like I see myself, and I was someone who I grew up wanting to be a white girl, and I'm still dealing with that identity wise. And like it takes a lot for me to even say that out loud, but also like understanding that maybe these aesthetics are just more of us trying to get more proximity to whiteness.
Yes.
And it's like, so I'm just questioning whether something like that is authentically you, or
Yeah.
towards
so
your
deep.
identity. But that's completely up to the individual. How you dress is how you dress. Being a part of this little cutesy fashion, it's not that deep at the end of the day. But like just questioning, like, who are we and why are we doing the things that we're doing, and are we doing what we want to be doing? Is anything holding us back? And I feel like this topic is important for you to actually sit on and think about, as a man and a woman, as a younger generation especially, but also as an older generation, to see, what examples have you experienced? Because like maybe there can be a realization that or opening, or more openness of ourselves. Like, let's open our hearts to our own love and to people that we can relate to, and let's be unified. But that's a broader issue. It all starts with the self, like you said. But yeah, like I want to know, like, what exactly were you seeing? Because online you just feel like it's you.
Right.
So like, what was your experience with like this soft black girl? I know we talk a lot about identity when it comes to like Panamanian culture,
Yeah.
but more so gendered issues. How do you feel about that?
So with me, softcore goes way back, me as a kid. I think I also had similar ideas of like wanting to be close to being a white woman. Maybe not exactly completely removing my blackness, because I still identified with that, but I didn't feel connected with it. Like, I've always felt ostracized by my peers. And I've never felt a part of like the group of like black girlies or like whoever I was with, right? I was always in a black community, all black environment. However, I just took up the aesthetic of like soft girl just because I just liked it. Like, it was visually appealing to me. There wasn't much more to it at the time as like whatever I was thinking of. But now looking back at it, I would say like maybe that separation I felt from my own community led me to like feel more close to being a soft black girl rather than anything else. I didn't have that much ideas of like what I could be. Like, I was restricting myself. However, now online, I'm seeing a lot of girls, like how we mentioned earlier, opening themselves up to like being more soft. So like doing things passively rather than like standing up and being like loud about certain ideas and like trying to make changes and blah 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 blah. Like, they're
Is
letting.
that the best way to be?
It's not.
Especially as
I
a woman?
think.
Or is that the way to get stepped on and then be
Right.
put in all these fucking categories you're complaining about?
Right. Like,
You're gonna choose to be passive. What's gonna happen then?
it's a form of retaliation though, because
How?
we as black women spend so long trying to prove ourselves, or like just to ourselves, since we talked about this earlier.
But
to
no, you
ourselves,
know
trying to
what?
prove
I'm
ourselves.
sorry, because you or the people your age who are saying this haven't experienced shit. So no, you're looking at other people's lives and other women before you. But I don't feel that anybody of a person your age has got so much experience. I feel like you guys don't even have you haven't been through enough to even complain about it. You might be able to watch or take examples from other older
Yeah.
black women, but I feel like what legs do you really have to stand on? Not you in particular. I mean, people in your age group have to stand on to like feel these kind of
But
ways
I
or
also feel like that's negating, like, this reaches children. Like, I look
Yeah.
into my elementary experience, and there's a lot of things that have scarred me from my black men counterparts towards, like, especially when you hit puberty. Oh my God. Like, like when you hit puberty or like even before, and like the whole liking people, like when you're trying to have relationships as a young person who has no clue what they're doing, kids are cruel. And like something like this is also, and then we haven't been through things particular, but like,
because she was talking about choosing to be passive. And in that example, I'm saying, what do you mean, choosing to be passive as if you're, fighting for whatever. But I'm like, what kind of experience do you have in that
because
really?
you have to, like, well, if someone is coming at me and I'm a child, like a boy is coming at me, like I have a choice whether I retaliate, like whether I say something or like hit him or kick him or whatever, or just like cry about it. And also like that's gonna that's gonna that choice is within myself. Like I don't really like the passiveness. Maybe we could talk about like that in corporate,
Yeah.
but like the I think it's just like that maybe older women, like maybe like I'm not doing this anymore. Um but like actually, but you still have to
Because
deal
you
with
would have
it.
had to have experienced hard girl for some period of time in order to make a decision to
Yeah.
switch to salt. This is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
You
that's
would have
fair.
had to have had experience in being a hard black woman for whatever reason you've had to be that in order to decide to switch. I feel like you can't be like 21 talking about, oh, I'm deciding to be my soft girl. Like, where was the hard part for you? That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
But like we also, but I feel like that's a choice of this is how I'm gonna go through life. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it's a thing of this happened to me in the past, now I have to change. It's a how do I navigate life as a black woman now, and like do I should I masculinize myself because I want money, I want to survive, or whatever, or I want to like fight back, or do I don't really know examples of being passive, but like that choice is we have to make that choice as we exist.
Yeah.
So I think it's like do I have to choose to be authentic to myself. I have to choose to speak up for and know how to communicate and know when the right time is, and be safe, also be vigilant, and guide myself. And I also have to be honest, my relationship was it was a high school romance, okay? And like a large part of my relationship, the self-loathing was crazy on both ends. But a big conversation that I had to have with him, and he's a Puerto Rican man, is I feel black. I feel black next to you. I feel so dark. Everyone he's dated previously was Spanish and light skinned and straight haired. And it's like, that's my experience as a 15-year-old, not accepting love and having to push through this, experience, and open myself up to this experience and trusting.
And why did you feel that?
Yeah.
Because he didn't make you feel
No,
that,
not at
right?
all.
So for
Yeah.
you to feel,
I
I
grew up
feel
with
black next to you, shit, why aren't you happy to be black next to him? I don't,
exactly.
what
This
was
is like
that?
so rooted in
Yeah.
like his like it starts from so young, and it's so damaging. And that's why I feel like talking about all the nuances of it can help you to accept how we can move through life in the future. Because I have to look at all of these views that I had of myself and where it came from,
And where
and
did it
understand
come
that that's
from?
not
Was it
me
just
anymore.
TV? Because
No, it was not.
where
That's
did it
why I'm
come
saying
from?
like not experiencing. I feel like maybe you feel like seeing things shouldn't like doesn't, I don't know. I feel like my experiences with trying to connect to people, I've always been a person of like, please love me. I have so much love to give, and I would like someone to really care, and I would like someone to really like me, and I was always nice, and I was a people pleaser, and I have, experiences of being like verbally attacked over text in middle school, and like them going after my thickness or my blackness or my mop head. I got called mop head, and like all of this bullying, but that's just bullying,
Oh,
Yeah.
like peers, like your peers and stuff. In school.
peers, yeah. And then we also talk about, what we see. We could talk about the nuclear families and how people are growing up, and like families where the woman is always like just in the kitchen or cleaning or doing everything, and like there's very toxic environments that people are living in that they grow up in, and then they learn from that. And I think that it comes from everywhere, and then people are having social media so young nowadays that it really is coming from everywhere. So that's just from me talking to people and being judged. That like my experiences from me talking to people and being judged, watching TV, and what was in the home. I didn't even have a phone until I was 10. So these 8-year-olds, these 6-year-olds
With their
like,
iPads
God,
and all that.
help,
Every single device.
help,
like
Jesus, help. Like, it's so damaging. And so I feel like, that choice of how you're going to go through life when you get to this adolescent age, when you go through puberty as a woman, that's another thing. Like, let's talk about our menstrual cycles. And this is my big feminist thing. Like, I don't know if I consider myself a feminist, but I do have a lot of opinions, and one of those is that we need to understand our moon cycles, our menstrual cycles, and need to be taught that and need to flow in our life on a monthly basis based off of that, the way that we go off of a 24-hour circadian rhythm based off of men in society. We should also, as women, have legalized like rules, legislation put in place for us, because we are human beings with a monthly cycle, not a
Yes.
daily cycle.
I just wanted to make one point. Like when we talk about just the misogyny aspect of it, but somehow it's pitting black women against black men, I just want to put it out there. Like the whole misogyny and patriarchy shit is not from the black man, it's from the white man. And we need to like pay attention as to where the overarching like ideologies are actually coming from, and what it's making us do to each other and ourselves, and really like be cognizant of it and not be oblivious to it. Because when I first initially heard the term, like when I was talking to Kayla, my initial reaction was, why is this term here to divide black women and black men? Because at the end of the day, we're all in the same fucking boat together. And the destruction of the black family was done on purpose. It didn't just happen to us, whether we're talking about from being brought here from Africa, or whether we're talking about when we were doing okay here in America as well, and how destruction was brought upon us, because whenever we do unite and do things collectively, monetarily, they destroy it, literally bomb it, blow it up, or put some kind of monkey wrench in it. Whether we're talking about Black Panthers, whether we're talking about the crack epidemic, the crack that was put into our communities, whether we're talking about welfare or things like that, that forced a lot of black women and to push the black men out of the home just so that they could receive the benefits that they needed to receive. It's like so many things have been designed to separate the black family because they know that there is power with us being united. So like when we look at these terms, I want us to really pay attention to where these terms really coming from and who's the real person or people or set of whatever that we need to be looking at, if you want to place blame, or if you want to really look at who has this perception of us.
Right.
Where did this perception start? And let me not put
Let's
it on
not
that
spread
black
it.
man.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's
let's not
not
spread
spread
it.
it.
Yeah.
Stop the hate.
For sure.
So yeah, that's a perfect segue to lead into our takeaways. So I will start. I want to address the younger generation. Please watch our other podcast videos. Okay, like, subscribe, comments. Tell us your thoughts about Misogynoir, some of your experiences. Tell us your thoughts about your own personal power and navigating through life. And tell us one way that you feel like you love your neighbor, you love your community. Because at the end of the day, it is all about loving one another and evolving oneself. And I am on a journey of like completely eliminating all of the limits that are just pushed on to me and everyone around me. And I encourage you as a younger generation with the power of the world in your hands to do the same and to do the research and to look within to really change things about how you see, learn from my mother's perspective, because she is such a guiding light for me. And like, don't stay in the victim mode, and don't stay within your limits of whatever we're talking about in the examples that we give, because let's change things and let's leave history to be history. And this is such a new term and this is years of development. So let's switch things up.
Yeah. And can I add on to that really quick? I want everyone also to be aware of the casual harm and disrespect that you guys perpetuate onto your own people, whether you are a Black woman or not. Like, be aware of that. And as long as you're aware and you take the steps to like work on yourself, like how you were mentioning, and fix that, we can all come together, like actually all come together and be powerful. But without that, we are always going to have those internal conflicts, and we'll never come to that resolution that we need, like just as a people, because I think we're better than this. Like, literally, we got to go back to the idea that humans were just here just to exist and walk around, eat food, reproduce, and then die. Like, we weren't meant to have all of these crazy loopholes and all of these intersectional blah, blah, blah. Like, we're doing a lot, but like, as long as we come together without the harm, we can reduce that harm upon each other and protect each other. That's it.
Wow, I don't even know what's my takeaway right now. I think my takeaway is to fuck labels. Like, I'm just tired of labels, and really, I implore people to really pay attention to the bigger picture of anything, and if something or someone or some term is making you feel stuck, then figure out how to feel unstuck. Like, I just think like the solution is never to just keep talking about the same thing over and over and over. Like, there needs any kind of progress has to be solution. Some type of growth, some type of moving past where you are is what needs to be happening, not being stagnant. So that's my only advice.
Okay, this was a great episode, ladies. Thank you for joining us, Lorie. I'm so happy to have you a second time.
Yes. Hey.
Thank you for watching Thebridgebythree. I hope you enjoyed.
Like, subscribe, share. Peace out.